Terry M. West. I'm a filmmaker, author, and actor. What a lot of people may not know about me is that I've had an interest in the paranormal field for about the last 20 years. I've gone to creepy places all over the U.S. and I've taken many photos in New Orleans, parts of Jersey, parts of New York, parts of Pennsylvania. Recently I decided to go to the Whaley House in San Diego. The history of the Whaley House was that it was built in the 1850s by a man named Thomas Whaley. It was built on grounds that had served as gallows. Obviously this didn't bother Whaley that much. He must have gotten a good deal on the land, but he built the house, and the house also served as a general store and a courthouse for San Diego at that time. After his family and himself had been terrorized by hauntings and tragedy, Whaley moved out of the house. If you want a complete history of the Whaley House, you can go to whaleyhouse.org and get the history of the place. So I went to the Whaley House just after dark, and I took the tour and I took a series of photos. Then Regina and I went to dinner, and while we were eating, I reviewed the photos that I had taken, and I noticed a large amount of orbs at the back of the Whaley House. And before we left, I wanted to go back and see if I could debunk it. I went back to the Whaley House around 10 p.m., and I went to the back of the house and I took a series of pictures, and I noticed that there's no grass on the back wall of the Whaley House, and there is a large amount of dirt and dust that flies in the air. So sure enough, I was able to debunk the orbs that appear at the back of the Whaley House. I looked at my camera. I had one picture left, so I pointed it straight ahead at the back kitchen window, which is actually about a 3-foot room that then goes into a window to the dining room. So I just snapped that one picture I had left and I went home. I went through my photos the night before, noticed a couple, chalked them up to natural things, nothing paranormal, and went to bed. The next morning I got up and I went through my pictures again, and when I got to that last picture I took, the picture that I took simply because I only had one photo left on the card, I noticed something funny on the left side of the kitchen window. I zoomed in on that, expecting to see a vase or something possibly on the dining room table, and what I was faced with was what seems to be a translucent apparition, and it's wedged right in between the outside window and of the kitchen and the inside window of the dining room. So I got pretty excited when I saw this image, but then I realized, well, it could be a photo, it could be a portrait reflecting, from inside the room. So I looked at pictures I'd taken of the dining room, and I noticed that there were no portraits that looked like that. The kitchen walls are absolutely bare. So I had to discount a reflection of a portrait or a picture. And if you look closely at the figure, it seems to me like a man that could be from the 1800s. I mean, just the sort of regal look of his face. Even if you look at his clothing, it looks like fancy and definitely 1800s type of clothing. I went back to the Whaley House exactly a week later. I would have went sooner, but I had some pressing business and I just didn't have the time. And I tried to recreate that image in the window, and I couldn't. I had somebody standing next to me outside to make sure that it wasn't a reflection of somebody. When I took the photo of the kitchen, my back was against a small brick wall of this little building, which is a facility for the volunteers to change or use the restroom. So there was no way anybody could have been standing behind me, and there's no way I wouldn't have noticed if somebody were standing in front of me. But I tried to have somebody stand to see if it was a reflection from the outside, which it looked like to me. I could not recreate it. I got nothing. I could not get anything to show a reflection. The only thing I could see was the reflection of my flash on the right-hand side. I also showed the photo to people that worked at Whaley House, and all of them said the same thing without me prompting. I walked up to them, I showed them the photo on my camera, and I said, does that look like anybody? Two of the volunteers, one that works the museum, I forget her name, immediately said it looks like Thomas Whaley. I went in to the house and I showed it to a volunteer named Pat, who's been working there about 2.5 years, and I showed her the photo and I said, does this remind you of anyone? And she said right away, it looks like Thomas Whaley. There was also a pretty diehard Whaley House fan. They called them Whaleys, actually. I showed it to her as well, and she said, oh, it looks like you have Thomas on the camera. So here's a picture of Thomas Whaley. And here's, again, the photo I took. Now, it may not be an exact match, but you have to admit that there is a similarity there. I've submitted this picture to TAPS for analysis, and any paranormal scientific organization out there that wants a copy of this picture for analysis, I will be happy to provide it to you. Just go to terrymwest.com and hit my little contact button, and you can email my management and they will forward it to me. I will be happy to provide this to any paranormal organization or news media. I have copyrighted the photo, and I do want to receive proper credit for it. So there you have it, my photo of the Whaley House. It was my second trip there. I've taken pictures of cemeteries, supposedly haunted places, for the better part of 20 years, and this is the first time I've ever got anything that I consider to be substantial. I'm not going to say that this is a spirit. I will say that I cannot recreate the image in the window, and I personally think that it's of paranormal nature. And I know the debate will rage and continue, and I plan on going back to the Whaley House and doing further investigations and investigating other places and seeing what I can come up with.